diagnosis was the turning point, and I changed my horrible behaviors, and I never had burnout again. But I learned the hard way that those cliches that you hear about cancer don't always apply. You don't necessarily reevaluate everything in your life, and rainbows and unicorns show up, and you're forever changed, and cancer is a gift, and all this sort of stuff. That certainly was not true for me. The other one that you may have heard is that, you know, on your deathbed, you will say to yourself, I wish I hadn't worked too much. And while I wasn't on my deathbed yet, I felt like I was hurtling towards it. And so in my case, what happened was I decided consciously that if I worked enough, maybe I wouldn't be worrying about my deathbed. And I worked a lot. I worked a lot of hours. And I essentially detached from my life at different periods of time. And that same pattern of working excessively and crashing out and burning and needing to recover kept happening. As part of my illness, we had been told that it would be unlikely that we would be able to have children. But as luck would have it, we were able to have not one, but two beautiful boys. They were both miracles. And again, I would love to be able to tell you that this was the defining moment. This was where I finally got my act together. And I said to myself, I would never do this again because these precious children needed their mother, and I was going to do all the right things. And instead, what I said to myself, and I remember I said this very intentionally, hey, maybe if I'm not around a lot because I'm working, my kids won't miss me so much when I'm gone. And I worked a lot. And the cycle continued. And there were two things that happened that I will be forever grateful for because I believe they saved my life. The first was that I was talking to a friend and I was telling her about, you know, this crazy time at work. And by the way, I was a business owner at this point. I had full control over my schedule and the ability to choose my clients, choose my deadlines, set the pace. I had full control, and yet I was working ridiculous hours. And so I was describing this project, and she said to me, I think you need a leave of absence. I think you need a break, and I think you need a therapist. I was like, what are you talking about? I need better time management skills. If you've got a template or an app for me, like, let me know. She said, no, I think you need therapy. And I wasn't convinced, but it waited on me, and it sat with me. 2 weeks later, I'm sitting in a client meeting. It's our quarterly results meeting, and I thought I was having a heart attack. I had that heavy pressure. And so I quietly left. I didn't tell anybody why I was leaving. I drove myself to the doctor, had some tests that confirmed that it was likely a panic attack and not a heart attack. And quite frankly, the fact that I drove myself there probably should have been a clue that maybe it wasn't a heart attack, but I didn't put it together. And I went back to the meeting and delivered my quarterly results and didn't tell anybody. And it was ridiculous, but it was the penny was starting to drop for me, and I started to think about what is going on here? What is compelling me to do these ridiculous hours, this overworking? And so I paused, I took a break, I did the therapy, and I really unpacked what was happening underneath the surface. And this was where I started to figure out, and there were three things that really helped me figure out that this was a problem. This wasn't a time management problem. This was a compulsion, a motivation, a choice that I was making to work differently than the asshole client. It's not these other factors. It's me. I'm choosing and thinking about making these choices, and I need to figure out how to do this differently. And that's not